we're going to be making ravioli and finishing our yogurt from yesterday. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. So yesterday I went ahead and got my raw cow milk that I picked up a couple days ago and turned a half a gallon of that into yogurt. I have to finish that today. I just let it sit on the counter in the Instant Pot all day, and then when I got home from work last night I just threw it in the refrigerator. Deal with it today. Well, it's today, and I'm drinking coffee. The other half gallon of the raw milk I made ricotta cheese. I showed you clips of that in the last video, but I have it right there doing a good draining of all the liquids, because I actually want to turn that into ravioli today so I can have some raviolis in the freezer. But first we got to deal with the yogurt. We'll make it the same way. When I put this in the Instant Pot to boil, I added a cup of powdered milk to the milk, boiled it, let it cool, and then put it back in the Instant Pot under the yogurt, and I let it sit for 10.5 hours until I got home from work, and then I just stuck it in the refrigerator. So let's just go ahead and deal with the yogurt. Just covered it with saran wrap and stuck it in the refrigerator for today. But first I do need to get my starter out. Oh, it's nice and thick and beautiful. All right. So that's the starter. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of vanilla. And 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now we're just going to whisk it, mix it all in. Now last week for a couple days, the husband and I went down to North Carolina to visit the kids and the new grandson. And I knew within that 7-day period of making our last yogurt, I was not going to use my starter. So all I did was just pop this in the freezer, took it out about a day and a half before I made this batch of yogurt, kept it in the refrigerator until it thawed, and it worked perfect. So if you can't get to your yogurt on a regular basis every 7 days or so, you can freeze your starter and it'll do perfect. That's exactly what I did, and we ended up with perfect yogurt. Now we're going to go ahead and put these in our individual jars. So I have my old peanut butter jars here. Decant that into these jars. This just makes it easier for like a serving. And then I have some pint-sized mason jars I'm also using. So we have our starter for our very next batch. And then we have 7 jars of yogurt in single servings. And I just love to add the homemade granola in it. So good. All right, let me put all this away and we're going to get started on some ravioli dough. Both of my flour containers are empty. So I got my 5-gallon bucket with the gamma lid. I need to fill these up of all-purpose flour. Alright, so give me a second. Let me go ahead and get both of these containers filled. Now, pasta is the easiest thing that you can make at home. It is literally flour, and I use all-purpose flour. I get that in a 50-pound bag from Azure. Just salt, olive oil, and eggs. That is it. You just add enough water in it to get a nice little dough ball. So simple. Now, you've seen where I've made videos where we've used the KitchenAid with the attachments, and also just the rolling pin and lots of flour and a countertop. You don't need special equipment to make homemade pasta. You just need the passion of cooking real food from real ingredients. Once you get the passion, you will figure out the rest. So simple. But we're going to go ahead and make our pasta dough because it does has to sit for at least 30 minutes before we start rolling it out. And then we're going to fill it with a ricotta cheese filling for some delicious ravioli. So I have the big bowl, I have the flour, I have the olive oil, and salt. And of course I got a couple eggs over here. My friend Tammy gifted me a dozen eggs from her yard birds. And we're going to use a couple of those also. Alright, we're going to start off with 5 cups of flour and a good amount of salt. It's probably about a teaspoon and a half. I'm just stirring that to incorporate the flour with the salt. Now we're going to make a well in the center. Now I've seen some nonnas, which is Italian for grandma, making this on a countertop. I do it in a bowl because I'm not so neat when it comes to kneading and I want to contain it. We're going to put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I am cracking the eggs in a bowl just in case. These are fresh, homegrown eggs. Okay, 5 eggs. Let's get in there, beat the eggs up with the oil. And we're going to slowly incorporate that flour into that egg mixture. Now it's time to get in there with our hands. And remember, we're holding our fingers together and we're going to stir it in until we get everything mixed. And then we're going to start kneading it. Just a little bit of water at a time. This is going to be a lot of pasta. If we have anything left over after we use all the ricotta cheese mixture, we're just going to make regular spaghetti and let it dry. No waste. And if your dough is a little sticky, add some flour. If it's a little dry, add some water. It's a beautiful color with those fresh eggs. Oh. Alright, I got it turned out onto the countertop here. And now I'm just going to knead it till I get it all nice and cohesive. I'm using the dough to pick up the bits and pieces. I need just a tad bit more flour. looks good to me. And we're going to just let that sit here on the countertop for a minimum of 30 minutes. If it's going to be more than an hour, stick this in the refrigerator. Cover your dough in saran wrap, not just a bowl. Put it in the refrigerator, and as long as you use it within a week, it is fine. If you don't get to it today, and you do need to refrigerate it, just take it out a couple hours prior to you need to start rolling it. Let it come up to room temperature, and it'll be just fine. But we're actually going to use this today, so we're just going to leave this right here on the countertop. Went ahead and took the ricotta cheese down, but I have a little bit of whey in here. I'm going to go ahead and just throw these on the tomato plants outside, and then when we come back in, we're going to go ahead and get started on the ricotta filling for the ravioli. I went outside and picked some fresh basil, and I washed them, and now I'm just going to let them dry in the paper towel. Oh, it smells so good. Fresh basil is so good. And now we're going to work on the ricotta cheese. Go ahead and get one egg cracked. Now this is the ricotta cheese that we made the other day, and I drained it at the time of making it, and now I drained it again so it won't be watery. And then all the way went to the tomato plants. They're loving it. Let's get the ricotta cheese out of this bag. It looks like cottage cheese, but it's ricotta cheese, and the only difference is it just hasn't been blended to make it nice and smooth. But we're going to work with it. It'll turn out beautiful either way. Just trying to get all the bits and pieces off of this bag. We're going to beat our egg. I have garlic powder. Put about a half a teaspoon. Onion powder, a half a teaspoon. Italian seasoning, a whole teaspoon. Salt, a half a teaspoon. And pepper, just a pinch. I got my Parmesan cheese wedge. This is what's left over from the other night when we cooked dinner. I'm just going to grate this in here. But I'm not weighing or measuring. I'm just building this as we go. It's probably going to be about a quarter of a cup. I got our fresh basil leaves. I'm just removing the stems. I probably don't need all of this. If you can only smell this, if you've ever had fresh basil, it is so delicious. All right, we're going to start with that. So the easiest way to chop up leafy vegetables, herbs, is to just try to roll it up as best as you can and run your knife through it. That's probably about 2 tablespoons. This is some basil I picked the other day. I just dried what I had left over. So I'm going to take these out. This is just a mesh grocery bag for like produce. I'm just going to put our wash leaves in there. And I just hang it up right there until it dries. And this is a jar from last year. I'm going to add these dry basil bits right in here. Homegrown, home-dried basil. Let's mix all this in. Isn't that beautiful? You can see the basil bits in there. Oh, that's gorgeous. All right, we're just going to put this in the refrigerator until we're ready. The ravioli maker that I use is just an off-brand ravioli maker that I picked up on Amazon, and that's what I'm using. It's not a KitchenAid brand, and it works fine. So now we're going to go ahead and divide our dough into manageable pieces. We need to laminate those, which means we have to run it through the pasta maker 3 times, fold it between each time, and then we can start making it thin. And then we can go ahead and start filling it up with the ricotta filling. So, if you're ready, let's get to this. I have the tub of flour out because we're going to need a lot of flour to do this. That is our pasta dough. It's beautiful and yellow with those fresh eggs. Oh, it's gorgeous. And you want to keep your dough covered so they don't dry out. And then we're just going to work on one piece at a time. So let's put some flour down on our board. So because my countertop is here and my stand mixer with the attachment is over there, we're going to be constantly going back and forth. Make sure we have our dough well floured. So we're going to flatten it in through this part. I know you can't see it. And then this is the ravioli part. And we're going to do this one sheet at a time. So we have it on the widest setting for the flat roller. And now we're going to fold it in half, put some flour on both sides, and do it again. And we're going to do it a total of 3 times. That was 1. And now we're going to go ahead and turn our dial 1 notch at a time to thin this pasta. And that is 1, and we went all the way down to an 8. I am going to flour one side of this so it doesn't stick to the rollers of the ravioli. So the side with the flour is going to be the outside part of the ravioli. We need to put our ravioli feeder in. We're going to lay the pasta in half, right inside till it bites. Now this is a hand crank ravioli maker. You just turn this and it spins the wheels and it makes the raviolis. We have our ricotta filling. So this ravioli maker came with a little spoon. We're actually going to use that. So I just put a couple scoops in there. And then we just take the handle and we just turn and then fill as we go. And now we have raviolis. And I just take a pizza cutter and I just go right down the middle. I remove the edges. And I forget, I have to sometimes put a little seal on these right down the edge. I have the baking sheet with parchment paper. I'm just taking a round, this is actually a fork, but it's round on this end, and I'm just giving a good seal. And I'm just going to do that until I run out of pasta or run out of filling. Now, if you don't have the attachment to make ravioli to your KitchenAid, but then you have the hand cranky one that can flatten pasta or make it into fettuccine or spaghetti, I'm going to show you how to make ravioli by hand. So I flatten out the dough. I'm going to square it off just a bit. Fold it in half just to find that center point. I have our ricotta mixture right here. And I'm going to put about a teaspoon on half of this, about 3/4 of an inch separating. Just 1 finger width. Then we're going to take and fold it in half. We're going to start in the center, pressing down the back, coming around the ricotta mix, and pressing the front. And we're going to do that around each one. This helps get all the air bubbles out. And then we're going to go the other way. Then we're going to take something round. I am using a fork, and we're going to press in between. And the ends. Cut off the ends. Go down the center where we pressed it. And then we're going to press that opening edge. If you have any leftovers, just cut it off. It's fine. And now we have homemade raviolis. And I think this is the way I'm going to be making them. They're actually easier to do it that way than with the machine. I am using the machine to make flat noodles, but I'm going to make it by hand just like I showed you. Alright, let's do that again. I'm just squaring it off just a bit. Finding that center. About a teaspoon, 1 finger separation. Fold it in half. Press down the back side, that fold seam. Starting in the center, work your way around that filling. It's okay if we get any oozing out. We'll just scoop it up and put it right back in that bowl. Now we're just going to seal the edges of each raviolis. And now we're going to seal the non-folded in. And then cut off any excess. Now I'm placing these on the parchment lined baking sheet. And I'm just going to keep on doing this until we run out of filling or a pasta. So I have all the raviolis done. I ran out of filling. I have it on the cookie sheet. The layers are separated with parchment paper, and I have that in the freezer to do flash freezing so I can get them into serving. But I do have some pasta left over. So I went ahead and got all the spaghetti cut up. I did use the spaghetti setting on the pasta attachment. I have some water on the stove to start boiling because we're having spaghetti with meat sauce with homemade spaghetti. Okay, so cooking fresh pasta does not take as long as cooking dry pasta. So less than, right about, we'll say 2 minutes. We are going to go ahead and salt our water. And we're going to go ahead and start dropping in our spaghetti. I'm just using a pasta bowl scraper, a bowl scraper, to just pick it up and just dropping it in. Flour and everything, not even worry about it. Give that a swirl. I'm not going to worry about bringing that back to a boil. I'm just going to cook it for 2 minutes at this state. And then we'll drain it and we'll get started on meat sauce. Make meat sauce however you want. I am using ground turkey. I have 1.5 pounds of ground turkey. And I'm going to use some homemade pasta sauce. And then when we get back together, I'll show you this delicious meal with homemade pasta. That is our homemade pasta. So pretty. That is so good. I have the ground turkey cooked and I got the pasta sauce in there. I'm just letting that warm up and then we'll dump it in here and make a delicious dinner. Get that all stirred in with that pasta. Oh yeah, that looks good. We're gonna go ahead and grate some Parmesan cheese right on top of this. I feel like I'm at that Italian restaurant. Well, it's really a fake Italian restaurant. When they bring you the Parmesan cheese and the grater and they say when. I never know when to say when. If a little bit's good, a lot of it's better. Alright, let's get that all stirred in there. Oh, that looks so good. Let's go ahead and scoop up a little bit of this deliciousness. Look at that. Oh, that is so crazy. Okay. So this is homemade pasta with our home canned pasta sauce. Look at that. That has the perfect chew. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to leave the raviolis in the freezer overnight so they get nice and hard and frozen. And then tomorrow I'll put them in Ziploc bags according to portions for the husband and myself. Depending on your family size, you would portion it out what you would need for your family. And then we did have some pasta left over, so I went ahead and made spaghetti. And that's what we're having for dinner today, possibly tomorrow also. Don't go anywhere, stick around, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. The raviolis have been in the freezer overnight. This is now the next day. Now we're going to go ahead and put this in Ziploc bags into portions for just the husband and myself. But if you make this recipe, just put them in bags that fit your family. I have quart-size bags. These are the homemade raviolis that we made the raviolis homemade. I will not throw the parchment paper away. I will save that for the next time we make ravioli. That looks good. This is the machine ravioli. And I think I like the homemade better because they're bigger. Just so you know, the ones that did not seal very well will ooze out when we are cooking them, but that's okay. I labeled my bag, ravioli, and the date. I'm going to put my parchment paper in here. And this is the spaghetti we have left over from yesterday. So we took 1/2 gallon of our raw milk and we made ricotta cheese. And then out of that ricotta cheese, we made the filling for ravioli. This is 3 servings for the husband and myself for ravioli. And then the leftover pasta, we made spaghetti noodles. Had some ground turkey in the refrigerator, so we went ahead and made some meat sauce to go with that with our home canned pasta sauce. If you find any value in this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And I want to say thank you to those who have subscribed. And I want to welcome anybody who's watching my videos that haven't subscribed. Please subscribe. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. So until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends.